Good evening. Uh, my name is Hari from the business development team in NSE. Thank you all for joining this webinar. I think most of you would have been fed up of webinars in this season. You have a lot of webinars happening day in and day out. So we will keep it as short as we can. So for the first time, at least from NSE side, we are doing a program on fixed income because we've spoken a lot about commodities, equities, derivatives, COVID, but not on fixed income. So we thought we will do a program on fixed income. So thank you once again for joining. I know all of you have just finished trading in the equity side, and somebody will be still trading in other markets. So uh, so quickly, why fixed income is because we think there is a lot of potential in this market. As you know, that what we are going to cover here is basically for a non-institutional participants, how somebody can participate in government securities, treasury bills, or state development loans. We have a small presentation. In the presentation, what we're going to cover is about why somebody should go, what is the return on these investments, because these instruments are backed by sovereign guarantee, so that you have government guarantee on this. So it's sometimes even better than the fixed deposit, obviously, in terms of security, and sometimes it's even better in terms of return. So we will cover that aspect in the presentation. We'll also cover the tax aspects of that, and then this is what we are covering today is on the primary issuances, like how you can participate in the primary issuances, and then we will slightly touch upon the secondary market for this as well. uh, and as many of the trading members are there, we can also tell you how you can use these instruments as a collateral to be given to the clearing corporation, based on which you can get some exposure. So there are multiple uses, as somebody always, as people say, that you have to put money in various baskets: equities, derivatives, currencies, gold, and something on fixed income as well. And that's why we thought this is important at this point of time, when there is so much uncertainty in the market, to have something on the fixed income side. And so in this basket, since it is a sovereign paper, there is tremendous advantages in holding this paper, and you can see how the interest rates are moving in the market in the last 6 months, especially. Uh, so, so we thought it will be a good idea to say that the government has allowed this to be allowed in the exchanges. Previously, the retail investor or non-institutional investors did not have an opportunity to participate in this market. Today, recently, we have an opportunity wherein it's available in small lots, and people like you and me can participate in this segment, and that's the idea of bringing this to your notice and making it more popular. So without much delay, I'll hand over this to Sunil, who will go through the presentation. And you also know this presentation will take about 20 to 30 minutes, and then you have a Q&A session. Please feel free to put your Q&A as and when you get it on the screen, so that as soon as it gets over, we will be able to answer the Q&A. Thank you very much. Sunil, it's all yours.
Thank you, Hari. Good evening, all, and hope you are safe. So, when we talk about safety in a financial market, the most safest instrument which is available right now today in the market is a Government of India securities. I will take you through the presentation. Saurabh, with the people. Hello? Hello?
No, slide is not visible right now.
Okay. Now everybody can see the presentation?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, as Hari sir said, we are going to cover small about what is Government of India securities, why someone should invest in government securities, Then what is the primary market? So we are currently today focusing more on the how anybody can participate in the primary auction of Government of India securities, and that is through NSE. And there are some people are some confusions, because what happen whenever you go and in the market for buying debt instrument, it is always a new issuance which you bought. But in case of Government of India securities, the same securities come and get reissued again and again. So just to get an idea how you can differentiate between the fresh and the reissuance of G6 while participating in this non-competitive bidding. So to start with, first, Government of India securities. Everybody knows that government has their own budget, whether it is a central or state, and they have some income and they have some expenses. So most of the times in India, the expenses are more than the income. And so to cover that additional expenses, the government, whether central or state, has to borrow money from the market. So in this case, they borrow money from the market by issuing some debt securities, which we call the Government of India securities. So when central government issue, it is called GOI bonds, and when state issue the bonds, it is called state development loan. These debt instruments have a specific maturity. So since it is a debt instrument, it will get matured after 1 year or a 2 year or a 5 year or a 10 year. And it also provides some interest. So that interest can be fixed. So if I'm saying 8%, so every year you will get 8%, and you will get it half yearly. So 4 rupees in after 6 months, 4 rupees after 1 year. Government issue a bonds short term, so it is short term as short as 91 day and as long as 40 years. So there is a wide range of bonds which is issued by the Government of India and state government. In case of central government, they issue both zero coupon bond, which we call a treasury bill, up to maturity of 1 year or less than 1 year, and also a dated security maturing from 2 years to 40 years. Similarly, state government also issue a bond, but they only issued a dated bond. Dated bonds means the bond which has a coupon or interest rate fixed with that, with a specific maturity, and that is called a state development loan. So central government securities, which is issued by the central government of India, it is all the issuance has happened through Reserve Bank of India. So Reserve Bank of India basically act as a arranger, you can say, as a to these things. Most of the central government dated bonds are carry a fixed, but there are certain bands which is a floating coupon. So floating coupon means its interest will depend upon some rate. So it can be a repo rate or it can be a treasury bill rate. So plus or minus to that rate, you will get coupon. So your coupon will not remain fixed. It will change as per the change in the interest rate. And the coupon is always paid on the face value. It is very important that it is not paid on the price which you pay, but it is paid on the face value. So the face value of bond is 100 rupees. Say coupon is 7%. So you will get 7 rupees in a month, out of which 3 rupees after 6 months, 3 rupees 50 paisa after 6 months, and 3 rupees 50 paisa after 1 year. So that's the way you get your 1 rupee. So price might be 101, price might be 99 based on the interest rate in the market, but the coupon will be fixed at, say, whatever percentage on a 100 rupees. Generally, the coupon dated bonds are issued between the range of 5 years to 40 years, but government can issue 2-year bond, can issue 3-year bond, depends upon the need of the government. And it is called a zero risk bond because since it has a sovereign guarantee, it says that there is no credit risk. So you don't have any credit risk or a risk of default. And that is the biggest advantage of investing in the Government of India securities. So RBI issue this, it can be fresh or a reissue. And one just example is given that, okay, when you say, people say, okay, I want to invest in 7.20 GSEC bond maturing on Jan 28, 2030. So what it tell you? It tells that, okay, you are going to get 720% interest. So 7 rupees 20 paisa, 3 rupees 60 paisa in after 6 months, and 3 rupees 60 paisa after another 6 months. And when that 6 months will come, so since it is a January 28, you will get on January 28 and July 28. So dates are also fixed, and the maturity date will be January 28, 2030, on which date On that date, you will get your 100 rupees back. So you may have pay price of 99 or 101, but on maturity you will get the face value. So this is about central government securities. Similarly, treasury bills. So treasury bill again issued by central government, but it is for short term. So it can be for 91 day, 182 day, and 364. So it is called zero coupon bond, means for there is no interest is paid in between. So no interest, then how you will earn the money? So here the issuance is happening at discount. So face value is 100 rupees. It will be issued at say 93 rupees or 94 rupees. So if it is issued at say 93 rupees, then 7 rupees is your interest. So how the yield will be calculated? So now in this case 93 rupees 07 paisa. So your interest is 693 on your investment of 93.07. And if you want to make it annualize, you are going to get that interest for 364 days. So if I have to annualize, I have to multiply by 365 and I will get my return, which is 7.47%. So this way you can easily calculate. Now in case of treasury bill, there is generally no risk is available, because you invest today 93 rupees, after 364 days you will get 100 rupees. Or if you invest in 96 rupees today, after say 91 days you are going to get 100 rupees, and you can calculate your yield. So this is about treasury bills. Then state development loan is exactly same like central government of India securities, in terms of whether it is a fixed coupon, a payment of coupon, maturity, issuance, everything is happen exactly same like government of India securities. Only thing is it is issued by state government. So different states will be there, and you should know in which state you want to invest. So if it is a Maharashtra or say Gujarat or say Madhya Pradesh, etc., so you have to also see the risk. So as according to Reserve Bank of India, people think that state development loan is there is a risk, but if you see the Reserve Bank of India various statements, they state that state development loan is as safe as the government of India securities, and it also have a state guarantee, and it has been said by the deputy governor in his speech recently. Even governor has also said that state development loan does not carry any risk, and that's why even when for the purpose of bank, state development loan as considered as same as central government of India securities for the computation of all their capital requirement, or they are considered as a SLR bond, etc. So Reserve Bank of India does not distinguish between SDL and G-Secs for various purposes. So the next is important, why we should invest in a government of India securities. The most important thing is the safest of in all investment. As we have seen, you get assured periodic return. Now if somebody wants that I should get some interest every 6 months, so you can invest here, and you know that every 6 months on this date I will get my interest. Now it provides attractive yield. So just comparison is given with the State Bank of India fixed rate, and you can see that for 5 year and a 10 year, the yield on G-Secs and state development loan is much higher as compared to fixed deposit. So that is another important benefit. You can see that you will get attractive yield along with the safety. Then it is available in wide range. So based on your requirement, okay, if you want that I should get money after 5 years, or I want money after 20 years, or I want money after 40 years, then accordingly you can decide in which security you want to invest. G-Secs allowed as a collateral in exchanges. I will cover that separately. The secondary market, you can buy and sell G-Secs. So right now in NSE, in capital market, we are allowing central government of India securities for trading like any other equity shares or a public issued bonds. And we are in a very advanced stage of allowing treasury bill and state development also trading in secondary market. Till that time, it is available for trading in CCL, also Clearing Corporation of India Limited, which is another where the most of the G-Secs trade take place. But you will see that in next 1 or 2 months that even T-bills and state development loan will be available in NSE capital market for trading, and we are working on how to bring more and more liquidity so that there will be exit route will be available for market participant. Next is transparent price. So when you want to invest, you should know, okay, what will be the general yield I will get on this instrument. So currently these bonds are traded on CCIL. CCL on their website provide all the information on real-time basis at what price, at what yield the securities are getting traded. So you will get a general idea, okay, at what price I will get if I today invest in a non-competitive trading. Since it is a tradable bond, the price will move up and down. So suppose today you bought a bond at say 101 rupees, and tomorrow the price has become 102. Why the price will move? Because there is a reduction in the interest rate. So there is a inverse relationship. So if interest rate goes up, price will come down, and if interest rate comes down, price will go up. So there is a possibility that if tomorrow you think, okay, I am getting a capital appreciation, let go and sell that bond and also get some capital appreciation on this. But there is a flip side also. If you want to sell and if the interest rate goes up, price may go down and there can be a capital depreciation, or the price of the bond will come down. There is a tax applicable because interest and capital gains are taxable, but the only benefit is that no TDS is applicable for whatever amount. So if tomorrow if your tax interest is say 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees also, it is no taxes get deducted. So you only if you are liable to pay tax, then at the times of when you fill your income tax return, you will you have to decide whether the tax will be payable or not. But no TDS is applicable, but interest and capital gains are taxable. So as I said, G-Secs are allowed. Currently, central government securities and T-bills are allowed as a collateral, and they are considered as a cash equivalent. So when I say cash equivalent, you will get 100%. You can give your G-Secs as a collateral. You can give your G-Secs in DMAT form, or you can give it in a SGL form also. So institutions basically provide in a statutory general ledger form, but for other people, DMAT is the best way, and the procedure will be exactly same like your equity shares when you are giving in DMAT form, and it can be provided for various purposes. Earlier, there was a haircut of a 10% across all Government of India securities. So recently, based on the market participants, we have relaxed or rationalized that haircut along with SEBI, and you can see that the new haircut is 2%, 5%, and 10%. So it has become more effective that if you want to buy 10-year G-Secs, and if it is a liquid, then it will be more beneficial to provide a G-Secs rather than FD as a collateral. So though there is no credit risk for a Government of India securities, you should understand there are some risks are there. One is market risk. As I said, the price can move up and down. So there is a market risk. Reinvestment risk is that when you buy a security, you say that the yield is 6% or a 6.5%. But there is a basic assumption in that 6.5% is that whatever interest I will get, I will reinvest that interest at the same 6.5%. But if tomorrow interest rate comes down, then you can't invest that your interest at same rate. So that's why there is a reinvestment risk. And third is a liquidity risk, because the liquidity is low in Government of India securities. There is a possibility that you are not able to invest in those security. You are not able to exit easily in that. So now the next thing is, okay, now I have to tell you about what is Government of India securities, what are the benefits, and why somebody should invest in the Government of India securities. Now the next thing is now how you can invest yourself or your client in this Government of India securities. So we are more focusing today on the primary market. For secondary market, it is available in capital market, but the liquidity is low. Here, the Reserve Bank of India and government has do a primary issuance of Government of India securities, and this issuance happens almost every week. So there is a standard that Tuesday there is a auction for state development loan, Wednesday there is an auction for treasury bills, and Friday there is an auction for Government of India securities. And the auction calendar is provided by Reserve Bank of India well in advance. And when RBI conduct this auction in an electronic platform, there are competitive bidding and non-competitive bidding. So competitive bidding is for those people who are institutions who want to buy a very high amount and they want to punt on the price. So they provide a price and then they decide whether I will get my securities at that price or not. to make it available, this Government of India, to the retail players, RBI and Government of India start with a non-competitive bidding. It is specifically for retail investor, where retail investor through any aggregator or a facilitator can go and bid in the non-competitive bidding of government of securities or a treasury bills or a state development securities. Since it is a non-competitive, you are not competing with anybody. You are just providing a price, you are just providing your value, and you are ready to buy that security at a weighted average price or a yield of the successful bids in a competitive auction. So whatever weighted average price will come from the competitive auctions, at that price all the retail investor will get their security. But in case of competitive bidding, the investor has to bid directly to the RBI portal, and they will get at their specific price if it is a multiple price, or they will get at a cutoff price. If somebody is below cutoff price, they will not get any allotment. Competitive bidding, people can do on a multiple bids, but in case of non-competitive bidding, single investor for a single security in that auction can only give a single bid. So now we will go more about non-competitive bidding. So now non-competitive bidding, who can invest in non-competitive bidding? So anybody who does not have maintained current account with Reserve Bank of India or a subsidiary ledger account are allowed to participate in a non-competitive bidding. So individual firms, companies, corporate bodies, everybody, even NRIs are also allowed to participate in a non-competitive bidding. Only thing is when they want to bid, they have to bid through an aggregator or a facilitator. Limits are specified by Reserve Bank of India for buying this. So it can be by in face value of 10,000 and multiple of that. So it is a face value of 10,000, price can be difference. So you will buy it a face value of 10,000 and multiple of that. You can bid a single auctions. In case of Government of India securities, the maximum bid amount is 2 crore and the total allocation available to the non-competitive bidding is 5%. So suppose there is the issuance of 10,000 crore, then 500 crore is available for non-competitive bidding. Similarly, for state development loan, 10% is a notified amount, so 10,000 crore is the issuance, then 1,000 crore is available for non-competitive, and out of 10,000, 1% so is available, maximum bid that is available. So if the issuance is of say 500 crore, then 5 crore can be a single bidder can bid in that specific state development loan. And by chance, in case of non-competitive, there is a more than notified amount bids have come, then allotment will happen on a pro rata basis. Government, Reserve Bank of India allowed to the facilitator or say a trading member in this case to charge a commission up to 6 paisa. So they have kept a cap of 6 paisa on the 100 rupees. So you can't charge more than 6 paisa to your client for when you provide the service of non-competitive bidding. So now, as Hari sir has said earlier it was difficult for a retail investor to go and participate in this non-competitive bidding because they have to go to bank, then bank will ask them to open a CHGL account because bank does not facilitate in a demat form. So RBI now allowed NSE to become a facilitator or an aggregator on this NCP for non-competitive bidding, where we can bid on behalf of a client on the RBI non-competitive bidding auctions. We are providing now NCB for G6 Treasury Bill State Development Loan. So we have a model of IPO or your SGB model where investor will come to the trading member and provide his bid, and then the trading member will put the bid on the exchange platform. So which are the platform is available for trading member to bid on this? So everybody has an IPO platform. So in IPO platform, we have provided one tab of eGSEC, which is a platform for a non-competitive bidding. So trading member will register there as a participant by just accepting terms and conditions. There is no cost, there is no agreement, separate document is required. There is a simple agreement, which is an e-agreement. You have to go and accept the terms and condition, and you will automatically register on eGSEC platform and start bidding on behalf of your clients. Clearing and settlement will happen through the Exchange Clearing Corporation mechanism. and exchange convert this SGL security into the demat form and directly transfer into the investor account. So here the security does not come to the trading member account, it will directly go into the demat account of investors. Similarly, suppose right now you don't have the eGSEC platform system or to facilitate this, so you can go and get registered on our GoBid platform, and then you can ask your client to go and bid on the GoBid platform, selecting your name. So they, while bidding on the GoBid platform, they will select your name, and then we will check the KYC with you. So we will see in detail how the non-competitive bidding is work on the eGSEC platform and how non-competitive bidding is work on the GoBid platform. So in eGSEC platform, which is the platform which is used by everybody, all the trading member, you will do one time undertaking. You will trading member will do first registration. Now when investor who wants to participate, they have to provide a one time undertaking to the trading member saying that, okay, I am going to invest only, going to enter a one bid only, and other general terms and conditions in that. Along with that, he will provide his bid and the funds. Once trading member receive his bid, he will enter that bid on the exchange platform. Exchange will do the validation about PAN and DP along with the depositories, whether PAN and DP is matching, whether he is an eligible client to participate in this, and whether he is entering a single bid in a single security for that auction. So those types of checks will be done by the platform, and once those checks has happened, the bids will go to the clearing corporation for generation of obligations. The NSE clearing will generate the obligation and provide that information to the trading member. Trading member will collect a money from the investor and they provide that money to the NSE clearing. Once NSE clearing get the funds, on an auction date, it will submit the bid to the RBI platform, and on the same date, they will get a confirmation whether the allotment happens or not. Once the confirmation information is received, NSE clearing will pass it on to the trading member that allotment is happen, but the allotment will, information will come on the same day, but actual allotment will happen on a next working day. And on the next working day, once the allotment is happen, NSE clearing will transfer security directly into investor demat account. So there is a possibility in this that investor is not able to pay the money. So we have given an option to the participant that if any investor does not able to pay the money, they can inform this to the NSE clearing and they can cancel the bid before a specific time. So before that time, they are allowed to cancel the bid in case of funds are not received from the investor, because here there is no settlement guarantee. So if funds are not received, bids will not go to the Reserve Bank of India. Only in case of funds are received, then only bid will go to the RBI for a bidding. So this is just an overview and a timeline of the process. As I said, RBI's auction mechanism is pretty standard, that on Wednesday they issue treasury bill auctions, on Friday Government of India auctions, and on Tuesday state development auctions. And even their announcement are also almost standard. If there is no holiday, RBI will announce about T-bill on Friday, bidding will start on Monday, bidding will end on Tuesday, then you can withdraw your bid morning on Wednesday, then we will receive a fund from you at a specific time. On around 10:30, 11, we provide this information to Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India will provide allotment say by around 2:30. Evening we will provide if there is any refund or and allotment status. And on a T+1, once we get a security from Reserve Bank of India, the security will be credited to the investor account. So there is a standard process and timeline which is almost remains standard if there is no holiday or if there is no change, major change. So this is the general timeline which is followed by Reserve Bank of India and we for non-competitive bidding. So similar to T-bill, there is a timeline for Government of India, dated securities, and state development loan. So additionally, we have provided GoBid facility where trading member can get registered on a GoBid platform by just again accepting the terms and condition on the platform. Once they do that, a investor will go on our GoBid platform or our mobile app of GoBid. They will register there. They will select their trading member. Then we will check that whether that client has completed the KYC with the trading member, and if it is completed, then trading member can bid on that platform. He will pay money directly. There is then the trading member role is only limited to the if the KYC has been done by that client with the trading member. The order will be placed by the client, the funds will be provided by the client, and the securities will be directly get dematted into the client account. So everything will happen through a client. Only thing is, we'll tell trading member that okay, this is a client who has used your name for the registration purpose, and that information will be shared with the trading member. Right now, we are restricting only resident individual to use a GoBid facility, and GoBid facility currently not available for state development. So this is a website, basically link I have provided where you can see which are the active issues currently going on, which are the forthcoming issues, and which are the past issues. So all the information will be available on this non-competitive bidding platform. So on a website, the information will be available. Similarly, on your eGSEC platform, the information will be available about the active issues and the forthcoming issues. So this is just a maths that everybody says, okay, when there is a fresh issue is happening, why I have to pay little high amount? Why I don't have to pay 100 rupees? So this is just an example which we have taken from the recent auction which is happened on 8th May for a new 10-year benchmark. So whenever there is a new issuance, it happen at a yield and not at a price. And for T-bills, everything is a fresh issuance. So in case of new issuance, we will not have any accrued interest. So the price is 100. But what happens, the retail investor or non-competitive bidder will get at a price which is a cutoff price of the weighted average, which is the weighted average price of the competitive bidding. So it is possible that the coupon rate and the yield is not matching. So you can just see one example which I have given, and this is a actually live example of that day, that when the 10-year benchmark has come, it has come with an interest of 5.79, but the weighted average yield was 5.78%. And that is why the non-competitive bidding people have to pay 100 rupees 10 paisa and not 100 rupees. So we don't know the price at the time of non-competitive bidding. So what we does at NSE, that we always charge some additional buffer. So suppose the amount block, suppose the new issuance, the price will be 100. So we charge say 2% more. So 102 rupees. And if once the price come 100.10, the NSE clearing refund 1 rupees 90 paisa on a same day. But we have to charge higher amount because we don't know what will be the weighted average price. And that is the only reason that additional markup is taken. But that markup has been refunded, whatever is the difference, on a same day of the allotment. We don't wait till the time of the actual RBI settlement date. So if the Friday auction is happen by Friday evening, the whatever refund is there, it is given to the member. So from this, you can calculate your cash flow also. Okay, this is a 10-year bond. So every 6 months, what amount I am going to get. So I have just given the example here on that. So similarly, reissuance. So now what happens in reissuance? Okay, in case of reissuance, the security is already trading. So there will be a price for that, and there will be a accrued interest. So basically, this accrued interest is what? So just you can see that RBI pay interest, or a government pay interest 6 monthly. So suppose now they have paid the interest on 17 December and auction is happening on 18th May. So next set interest will be paid on a 17 June. Okay, so on 17 June, the person who is holding bond will get all that 6 months car interest, which is 3 rupees 3.785. But for this broken period, interest is not belong to that buyer. So that broken period interest is called the accrued interest, and that amount has to pay when there is a reissuance. So that is why the difference, when there is a reissuance, you have to pay bond price, you have to pay accrued interest, and you have to also pay some markup value. And any difference with the amount blocked by exchange clearing corporation and actual allotment price, the remaining amount will be paid back to the refund will be done. So amount payable will be weighted average price plus accrued interest. So now in this case, the weighted average price was 109 rupees 75 paisa and accrued interest was 3 rupees 175. So 3 rupees 175 plus 109.75 will be payable at the time of reissuance, and you don't have to worry because immediately you are going to get 3 rupees 785 paisa on 17 June 2020. So it is not that this amount of 3 rupees 175 paisa is your loss, because immediately in next say 1 month, if it is 18 month May is the settlement date, in 1 month you are going to get 3.785. So you have to only worry about this price of 109.75 and what yield I am getting at 109.75. So what we will do, we will also share some simple Excel sheet with you so that you can calculate yield yourself by providing maturity date, rate, yield. This redemption frequency basis will remain same. So only difference in case of G6 is that they follow 30 by 360 model. So in Excel, there is a facility to calculate accrued interest by using the formula. So that formula I have given here. And we will share with you the Excel sheet also, so you yourself can calculate the accrued interest by providing last interest payment date, settlement date, and coupon rate. Face value is standard 100 rupees, and accrued interest will get automatically calculated. So these things you have to keep in mind when you are participating in the fresh issue and the reissuance. And how the cutoff price and a value weighted average price is computed. So suppose there is an auction of 200 crore. Somebody said, okay, I will buy at 150. Somebody say 101.48 and 101.40. So 200 rupees it get accumulated at 101.45. So cutoff price will be 101.45. If it is a multiple price bid, the 101.50 will get at 150. 101.48 will get 101.48 and 101.45 will get at 101.45. But if it is a single price auction, then everybody will get at 101.45 in competitive bidding. In case of non-competitive bidding, it will be weighted average price of a successful bid. So successful bid is 101.50 into 90, 101.48 into 60, and 101.45 into remaining 50. So your price will be 101.4815, which is a weighted average price. So this is the way the cutoff price and value weighted average price will be determined. So that's why there is a difference, always difference between cutoff price and a weighted average price, but that difference will be negligible of 3 paisa, 5 paisa, or a 10 paisa. So this is all about Government of India securities. We will share with you presentations and also some kind of Excel, so you will come to know how to how to calculate the yield and how to calculate the accrued interest, and then you will come to know what will be my exact price I have to pay. So that's it from my side. Now we will take questions, Saurabh. Hello. Hello. Saurabh, we can start with the questions.
Should I
Saurabh Mehta. Yeah.
So I'll be taking the first question. Is option trading being started in bond market also?
Option trading. Hello.
Will you be responding?
Options. He's talking about interest rate options. Hello. Question is not clear, Saurabh.
Yeah. So I'll just repeat. So is option trading being available for bond market?
Yes, there are few bonds on which interest rate options is currently available. In the currency derivative segment, we provide interest rate future and interest rate options. So there it is available.
Okay. Next question. How secured is government in today's scenario when government is running short of money and it's craving RBI money?
So see, as I said, government of India, government securities is a sovereign bond. So basically, if tomorrow something happens, they can just print money and pay to everybody. So you can't have anything more safer than government of India securities. And if you see the last 100-year history or so many years which we have, there is no default happen in the government of India securities or a state development loan. So we can say safely that it is the safest investment currently available in current situation. There is one question that asks about what is the difference between the G-Secs and bank FD. So see, G-Secs and government of India securities is a debt instrument which can be also tradable. So you can easily buy and sell in the market. Then government of India securities, you have the exit route is available by only selling to some other person, and the coupon is paid half yearly, and there is end available from 91 day to say 40 years. In case of bank FD, one thing is that if you want to premature the bank FD, then you have to go to the bank only. It is not transferable. So you can't trade in a bank FD. You have to go to bank and then you have to pay some whatever if there is a penalty and then get it premature. And as compared to G-Secs, is bank FD will be always riskier because there is no sovereign guarantee. So I can thought of these are the two major basically difference between the bank FD and this.
Next question. How do we trade G-Sec on NSE?
So for trading in government of India securities, currently central government of India securities is trading in a capital market segment. And if you are trading equity shares and bonds, so similarly you can trade G-Secs. There is no separate permission is required. Only the series is different. The series is GS. That's it. All other things are same. That it is a netted settlement. Then there is a T+2 settlement. Then you can do intraday buying and selling. The settlement is happening in a demat form. So everything will be remain exactly same as what you have for other equity shares or bonds. So G-Sec, somebody has a question, G-Secs in demat is only listed in NSDL. Please list even in CDSL. So it is listed on both the places. If you are facing any query, just let us know, because G-Secs are available in demat form both NSDL as well as CDSL, because we are currently issuing in non-competitive bidding G-Secs in NSDL as well as for CDSL. So one question is that what is the impact of a closed subscription of RBI 775 bonds on G-Secs? So 775 bonds is totally different as compared to G-Secs, because this 775% was a non-transferable bond. So there is a lock-in period of 7 years. And I think since there is many places the interest has come down, so that's why I think these bonds also got closed. So there is a possibility that the demand from the retail investor will increase. There is a possibility that demand will increase from the market participants who wants to go for a safe haven to come and buy more and more G-Secs. I can't provide any view on the G-Sec yield because it is purely for, here we are talking about a G-Sec investment from the long-term point of view. So somebody asked, please show mock if possible for G-Secs on NSE. So when we do a mock every month on Saturday. So there also you can go and trade. So series is GS. Even on a website, if you go on a live market, there is a separate table for trading in G-Secs. So there also you can see all the securities, and then in mock you can participate in that.
Sir, there is one question. Are SDL allowed as security on the exchange?
So currently, state development loan is not allowed as a collateral on the exchange, and it is not traded in the capital market. But we are working on at least allowing a state development loan as a trading in a capital market segment. And I think within say in 2 months time, you will see that state development loans are available for trading in a capital market segment.
Next question is that will they get any transaction file which they can upload in their back office for the Go bid?
Go bid, we will check. I think I don't know whether that file is available, so we will take this as a feedback and we'll work on that. So just keep this as a feedback and we'll see.
Then next question is, what is the minimum amount required to invest for retail investors?
So in non-competitive bidding, as I said, the minimum amount is 10,000 and in multiple of 10,000 in terms of face value. So if the price is say 101, then you have to pay more than that plus accrued interest. But in face value term, it should be 10,000 and in multiple of 10,000.
Then the next question is, can an investor make the payment from the bank account which is not linked to his demand? If
See,
no, can he or she add another bank account on eBid GoBid platform for making payment?
so GoBid platform, it is currently linked only in DMAT. But if he trading through a trading member, bidding through a trading member is allowed to take from any of his account by then ensuring the proper PLMA guidelines.
Next question, I think this question has been asked twice. What is the exit way for investors in this?
So right now, as I said, exit route is available for G6 in capital market. For state development loan and T-bill, we are working and we'll get it. Till that time, it is also available in CCL, but the liquidity is very low. But you will see in next 1 and 2 months that state development loan and treasury bills available for trading. So next one relevant question is how the quotes are available on the basis of clean price or dirty price. So here very important is that when you trade in a capital market segment, you trade at a dirty price. So it is inclusive of accrued interest. But when you trade, if you are looking at the CCL prices, Clearing Corporation of India Limited prices, where the most of the trading is happening, there the trading happen at a clean price. So in NSE, in secondary market, the trading will happen at a dirty price, and in institutional market, it is happen at a clean price, and then the settlement will happen at a dirty price.
Then there is question: is there any traded data available?
Traded data means now in historical data, if you go and you select the security, you will come to know the traded data. Else right now there is no specific traded data is available. We will work on that, providing at least a historical traded data of the capital market segment on the NSE website. So again, this we will take as a suggestion.
One question: is there any difference in the process of equities and G-Sec?
No, there is no difference. So again, the question has come about CDSL, NSDL. So transfer of security, there was a challenge, but the challenge has been we have resolved the issue up to certain level, and I think in next few days you will hear that the transfer between NSDL and CDSL will happening smoothly for G6. So already for state, you have seen that the gold bond, now the transfer is happen easily. Even the depository has come with the circular on that. So similarly for this also we are working, and you will see that inter-depository transfer will happen smoothly in next few days. So we are working on something to increase the liquidity in the secondary market of Government of India securities. We are working on the same. So once it is through, we will come with the necessary circular for on this increasing the liquidity in G6.
There is a question which what all types of G6 and SDL are available for trading?
So as I said, currently only central government of India securities is available for trading, not state development loan. State development loan will be made available in next few days in a capital market segment. So there are some questions we can see basically on the market. So this is purely to guide you about how the people can invest using non-competitive bidding facility of NSE, and whether to invest or not, it is purely a decision of the investor, and we can't talk about the yield and how the yield has been moved. So these are the questions we are avoiding in this presentation. So somebody asked, if somebody has invested 2 lakh rupees in reissue bonds, what amount will be paid by the investor? So it depends. Again, you will come to know what is the price. You will know the accrued interest. So price plus accrued interest will be the tentative amount which investor has to pay. So suppose the price is say 101 rupees and accrued interest is 2 rupees. So it will become 103 rupees. So his amount payable might be around 2,06,000 rupees. But it can be changed. The price can be become 98 and accrued interest can be 99. So he has to pay only 1,98,000. So the amount will be depends upon the clean price plus the accrued interest for that bond. Bharat bond is only for a corporate bond. It does not have a government of India securities. If you see, Bharat bond invest in a corporate bond. It does not invest in a government of India securities. So any other questions, Paritosh, if there is any other additional question?
There is one question which has come. Can SDLs be transferred from NSDL to CDSL?
Same, whatever currently problem we are facing for G6 is same for state development, and so we are working with on both the things for smooth transfer of these securities from NSDL to CDSL and vice versa. So these are we will take this as a feedback. So one is inter-depository transfer, making available the security information on website. So those things we will work and we'll try to make it available.
I think we have covered most of the relevant questions which are there, sir.
Okay, so if you have any questions, you can always connect to your relationship managers, and through your relationship managers, you can provide us the questions, and we'll happy to answer this. We will provide this presentation and also a small Excel sheet so that you are able to calculate the accrued interest, yield, prices, and other stuff, so that it will become easier for you to understand what will be the price and what will be the yield on specific price and what will be the accrued interest.
Sunil sir,
So,
new question has come in. Basically, for the newly issued G6, the member wants to know how they can come to the coupon rate from the RBI.
No, so they will not come to know, because in that case the coupon will be market determined. So you will never come to know. Means you can guess it, but guess may be wrong. Only thing you'll know that you have to pay the price somewhere near to 100 rupees. Now, for example, today there was an auction of a new 14-year bond. So generally whatever 14-year bond traded in the market, the yield will be somewhere near to that, but it can be tomorrow even 15 basis point low also because of the liquidity of the new bond. So for example, when this new 10-year come on 8th May, the bond has come with a rate of 5.79 when the old 10-year was trading at around 6. So it has come with a 20 basis point low yield. So it depends upon the market conditions, what is a demand for that G6 in the market, and based on that it will get determined. But you can guess it, okay, that 10-year say 14-year G6 currently trading at say 6.20, so the rate will be around near to 6.20. So it can be 6, 595 or 610, 605, 615 or 620 also. But you can't surely say, okay, this will be the year.
Just to ask, will there be some FAQ, something we want to put on the website or something like that? Or we made something on WhatsApp, now we can forward that also to people.
Yeah. Okay. We will work on that, sir. On FAQ on this non-competitive bidding. And G6 also. So generally what is G6 and FAQ? On both we will have a FAQ.
But we'll put a FAQ so that most of the questions which has come here, we will cover it as an FAQ so that people at large will know, what are the various questions and how do we take it up from.
Okay, sir.
I think
So
questions have stopped, sir.
Okay.
So that's it. So
Thank you.
thank you.